Okay, hello everyone. We have a few attendees now, so I think we should begin. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out on your busy Thursday afternoon to join us to discuss the potential of financing clean energy SMEs in Punjab and driving forth Pakistan's clean energy transition. I am Mavra Bari. I am the Private Financing Advisory Network's communications and monitoring and evaluation expert, as well as a gender focal person for the USAID funded Pakistan Private Sector Energy Project. It is my honor to be your master of ceremony today. To tell you a little bit about the Pakistan Private Sector Energy Project, we are committed to promoting clean energy and reduce carbon emissions in Pakistan. In the project scoping study, Punjab was found to be a priority geographical area because of the rich renewable resources in this province. Punjab is home to head offices of banks and other financial institutions, which will surely assist SMEs in accessing relevant stakeholders, investors, private sector developers, and setting up financial structures. So before we proceed with this webinar's agenda, I would like to start the event with a recitation from the Holy Quran and then some housekeeping rules. So if kindly we could turn on the Tilawat video.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful.
الحمد لله رب العالمين
All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds.
الرحمن الرحيم
The entirely merciful, the especially merciful.
مالك يوم الدين
Sovereign of the day of recompense.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين
It is you we worship and you we ask for help.
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم
Guide us to the straight path.
صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين
The path of those upon whom you have bestowed favor, not of those who have evoked your anger or of those who are astray.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we begin with the welcome remarks, I would like to take a few minutes to go over the housekeeping rules and brief you about how to ensure a smooth event today. So firstly, the session will be recorded. So if anyone is not comfortable with that, please feel free to leave the event right now. Also, this is a controlled event, which means that attendees cannot unmute their mic or turn on their video except those speakers who are given special rights. We will be taking written questions at the event. So please do send them, all of your burning questions via the Q&A function, and we will answer them. It's right at next to the chat box. Also, we will be conducting quick polls after some sessions and a survey at the end of the event to understand your thoughts and take on Punjab's potential for clean energy a bit better. Only a few minutes of your time will help with our understanding on how to support you better for future events and in our programming as well. So I request that everyone try to submit the polls and the survey. So thank you for that. So onwards with the agenda. So I would like to welcome our first speaker, to give you more information about the Private Financing Advisory Network and Pakistan Private Sector Energy Project that is helping Pakistan on the road to climate resilience. Mr. Peter Story is the Global Coordinator for PFAN and Acting Chief of Party for PPSE. He is a financial professional with more than 30 years of project and corporate finance experience and expertise in renewable energy and specialized in developing countries and transition economies. Peter, over to you.
Thank you, Mavra. Honourable US Consul General William Makaneole, Punjab Power Development Board Managing Director Sinya Awais, distinguished stakeholders and colleagues from USAID, UNIDO, REAP, PPSE and PFAN network members, PPSE project developers and company owners, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you today to our Spotlight on Punjab event. This event is jointly organised by the Bank of Punjab, Yellow Door Energy, and the USAID funded Pakistan Private Sector Energy Project, or PPSE as we like to call it. The PPSE was formally launched last year with the mandate to accelerate and increase the flow of investment into small and medium clean energy transactions into Pakistan. We do this by originating promising projects at an early stage and providing them with expert financing advisory support, transaction advice, and investment matchmaking to help them reach financial close. PPSE is managed and implemented by PFAN, the Private Financing Advisory Network, which is a project preparation facility initiated in 2006 in conjunction with the UNFCCC. It helps mobilize private sector investment and finance into clean energy and climate projects in developing countries. And since its inception, PFAN has supported over 1,000 projects globally and has helped raise over $2 billion US dollars of investment, which is just to say that we think we know something about project development and investment in the climate and clean energy space. PFAN is hosted by UNIDO and REAP. My colleagues will tell us more about how PPSE works, and we will meet some of our projects from Punjab later in the meeting today. When PPSE commenced, we undertook a rigorous scoping study to identify the most significant clean energy areas and sectors. And we found that the province of Punjab to be a priority province because of its potential to drive the green transition forward in Pakistan. This large potential has also been acknowledged by the government of Punjab, which has identified wind, solar, and waste to energy sectors as priority areas in its energy strategy. Accordingly, these sectors are also priority areas for PPSE. As you will know, Punjab is Pakistan's most industrialized province, with the industrial sector making up 24% of the province's GDP. Accordingly, the private sector and SMEs in particular can play a vital role in Pakistan's energy transition. And I'm proud that PPSE is playing a small part in this vital role. Currently, out of 24 projects in our pipeline, 11 are from Punjab, and we envisage this number to rise further over the next months. In addition, a significant amount of our intellectual capital and expertise comes from the region, with many of our advisors hailing from this province. Today's event also marks the launch of our partnership with two major players in the clean energy ecosystem in the province, Bank of Punjab and Yellow Door Energy. And we hope very much that the event will further lead to partnerships, deal flow, and overall strengthening of the clean energy financing community in the province. To this end, I am looking forward to an energizing and stimulating conversation. And at the end of the day, I hope we identify areas where we can cooperate and deals that we can help develop and close together. That's, after all, what we're all wanting. In closing, I would thank you all in advance for your time, your experience, your brain power, and your valid contributions to this discussion. Last not least, thank you to USAID for making the event possible and for its vision and support of PPSE. Back to you, Mavra.
Thank you so much, Peter, for those remarks. Now I would like to begin with our keynote address and introduce one of our keynote speakers from an organization that has made the PPSE project possible with their funding. William Makaneole assumed the position of U.S. Consul General in Lahore on August 21st, 2021. A career member of the U.S. Foreign Service and the U.S. Diplomatic Security Service, Mr. Makaneole most recently served as a director for counterterrorism at the U.S. National Security Council's Counterterrorism Directorate, where he coordinated all U.S. government departments and agencies on matters of national security and counterterrorism. He has served previously in diplomatic assignments in Oman, Yemen, Lebanon, and Central African Republic. He has also served in Peshawar, Pakistan in 2017 and 2018. So welcome back, Mr. Makinole, to Pakistan. His assignments in the
Thank you.
United States include as liaison officer to the Pentagon, where he coordinated between the U.S. Department of State and the U.S. Department of Defense to address humanitarian efforts, stabilization, and embassy security worldwide, and multiple tours with mobile security deployments, the Diplomatic Security Services Tactical Unit. Mr. Makinole is a native Hawaiian and studied political science at the University of Hawaii and holds degrees in political science and administration of justice. In 2019, he studied organizational leadership at the Joint Special Operations University. Mr. Makinole is accredited merchant mariner and has worked in the maritime and shipping industry throughout his career. That is quite a profile, and I wanted to say it all because it's very impressive. So Mr. Makinole, welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for making time for us today.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mavra, for that excellent introduction. I appreciate it. Private sector leaders, Bank of Punjab representatives, UNIDO and PFAN representatives, USAID and USG colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, assalamu alaikum, and as we would say where I'm from, aloha. Aloha to everyone. It is a pleasure to participate in today's event, organized by USAID's Pakistan Private Sector Energy Project, better known as PPSE. Let me begin by thanking all of you for your participation in this event and for us to have opportunities to hear and to discuss the challenges and opportunities available in Punjab for financing clean energy projects. USAID has been a long-term partner of the government of Pakistan to strengthen the energy sector. Our partnership in energy dates back to the 1960s when the US government supported the construction of the Tarbela and Mangla dams. I'm still working on trying to get to Mangla myself. Working with the government of Pakistan, we have supported infrastructure projects, operational improvements, and policy reforms to help energy sectors function more efficiently and sustainably. These efforts help us increase or save 4,000 megawatts, which is enough to meet the needs of over 47 million people. As we all know, reliable energy is vital to socioeconomic development and crucial to bringing more investment to the country. Pakistan has a great potential through a variety of renewable and clean energy resources, including solar, wind, biogas, off-grid distributed generation, and hydropower generation. Climate change is critical. It's something that we've taken on ourselves, and it's a challenge that requires global cooperation and commitment. It poses systemic risks to Pakistani families, businesses, and the economy. With over half of Pakistan's forecast emissions coming from the energy sector, there is no other segment of the economy so important to mitigating the impact of climate change. We applaud the government's goal to increase renewable energy to 60% of its energy mix by 2030. This transition is vital to reducing the country's emissions. The government of Pakistan is also undertaking important new initiatives, such as furthering opening the market to private sector and developing a wholesale electricity market. The private sector is key to gaining this green initiative. USAID has a number of tools available to support the government of Pakistan's transition to renewable energy to reduce Pakistan's vulnerability to the effects of climate change. PPSE is one of those tools available to directly support the private sector by unlocking investments for low carbon, climate resilient projects. PPSE implemented by PFAN, will expand the portfolio of commercially viable, socially and environmental sustainable small and medium scale clean energy products and provide support to enable them to access financing and reach financial closure. Punjab is one of the priority focuses for this province. Focus for provinces for PPSE support. And as we speak, PFAN has already selected 11 private sector projects from Punjab to benefit from their advisory services. These projects include solutions for solar, off-grid distributed distributed generation, electric mobility, and energy efficiency. We look forward to today's event, and we hope you all find it informative. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here today to provide remarks. Shukriya and mahalo. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind remarks. Now I would like to proceed with our last keynote address of the event. I would like to invite Ms. Sania Aves, who is a leading Pakistani business executive. She is currently Managing Director of the Punjab Power Development Board, Energy Department, Government of Punjab, the first woman to head the company. Prior to becoming the Managing Director in 2013, she held the positions of Senior Director and Manager in the energy sector, Government of Punjab. Ms. Sania's tenure as CEO has been marked by prestigious awards, including Award of Excellence in Engineering and Leading Business Women in Pakistan, along with remarkable achievements in the power sector. She has the honor of leading and executing major energy projects in Punjab, including Quaid-e-Azam Solar Park and 1,320 megawatts Sahiwal coal power project. One of her goals is to focus on successful expansion of renewable energy projects in the region. Ma'am Sania, over to you.
Thank you, Mavra, for your very kind introduction. Excellency, Consul General, Peter, other colleagues at Government of Punjab, worthy participants, Assalamu alaikum. Please allow me to begin by introducing myself and my organization, which I'm leading currently. Currently, I'm heading, as Mavra introduced, Punjab Power Development Board. Punjab Power Development Board we are a statutory body, which means that we operate under PPDB, Punjab Power Development Board Act in Punjab. We are the one window facilitator for development of all private power projects in Punjab. And our second very important role is that we are the front desk of Government of Punjab in all policy development within Punjab and providing input and coordination for policy work in Pakistan. So our project development and facilitation role and our policy role is duly recognized by all counterparts in Pakistan. We have signed co-facilitation agreements with our counterparts like PPIB and ATP, which are project facilitators at the federal level. We currently have a project portfolio of about more than 6,000 megawatt. Our mandate allows us to facilitate projects based on any technology and any size. So our portfolio includes thermal power projects, solar power projects, pipeline, wind, hydro power projects, with the ongoing projects and the upcoming opportunities I'll introduce you to shortly after this introduction. And to start with our project portfolio, we developed in Punjab since the focus today is on renewable projects, so I will try to focus on that area too, but briefly mention other interventions as well. So Punjab was the first province in Pakistan which developed a utility scale large solar power park in south of Punjab. In Lal Suhanra, we developed a solar power park with an evacuation capacity of about 1,000 megawatt. Later on receiving overwhelming interest from the private sector, this park was further extended for another 300 megawatt. First 400 megawatt, which were also the very first grid connected projects, solar in Pakistan, are in commercial operation. These projects have been successfully completed and they are operating at benchmark, better than the benchmarks provided by NEPRA, successfully operating. Another 600 plus 300 megawatt are in pipeline, and would have completed by now, but you all know that there was a policy void for some time in Pakistan. And now that we have the RE federal policy in place and the Punjab policy also in place, so all policy, the policy environment and all the enabling provisions are in order for these projects to develop now. Our future roadmap for RE projects consists of about 6,500 megawatt. This includes solar power projects, waste to energy projects, wind power projects, and a few biomass and biogas projects. This project portfolio, as you know, that the RE policy requires that now all future power sector planning and generation addition would be under a central planning with participation from the provinces. So Punjab was the first province to prepare a future RE roadmap and portfolio. We have already forwarded this portfolio of 6,000 plus megawatt to the federal government, which is under review there. This includes about 2,500
यार इंटरनेट ही चाहिए
Hello, everyone. Sorry, apologies for this technical issue that we're having. I think Ma'am Sania has a connectivity issue on her side. Ma'am, are you still with us right now? Okay, so I think let's give Ma'am Sania a few minutes to join back. We actually have our first poll scheduled right now. So I think let's launch that first poll and let's see if Ma'am Sania can rejoin us. So the first poll is, what is the biggest asset for clean energy or green energy companies in Pakistan, Punjab particularly? Number one, presence of financial institutions and strong business infrastructure. Dynamic urban and rural population for use case studies. And number three, abundance of natural resources and renewables that we know that we have in Punjab. So we'll give everyone a few minutes to answer these. Okay, we have the answers in. So it seems like the last one is the winner, so to speak, with 50%. So abundance of natural resources and renewables is at 50%. 18 out of our 36 participants feel that. And then number two is presence of financial institutions and strong business infrastructure. And number three is dynamic urban rural population for use case studies at 25%. So when we go into our panel discussions, we will be discussing these points as well. So I look forward to taking this discussion forward. Is Ma'am Sania with us again? Let me see. Gee, Ma'am Sania, you're back.
Sorry, I lost you. Sorry, I lost you. I think there's something. Okay, sorry, my apologies. I was mentioning that we do have waste to energy potential in Punjab as well, in various city district governments and some major cities of Punjab as well. This is a unique potential because only in Punjab, Pakistan, we do have central collection of waste, and we do have waste companies which will provide the waste availability assurance to these projects. So we talked about our future RE portfolio, about the solar projects upcoming, which first round of bidding will be conducted by the federal government, and the second and the following rounds by the provincial government through PPDB, Punjab Power Development Board. Waste to energy projects also are ready for investment. And thirdly, we did sign an agreement with Vestas Denmark a couple of years ago, and under that agreement, the wind resource mapping of all of Punjab was done. A corridor of 1,000 megawatt in very south of Punjab, Rojan area was identified. That 1,000 megawatt is also included in the RE portfolio, and also the integrated generation planning of Pakistan as well. So these were the few RE projects that we intend to invite investment in very immediate future. Other than that, Peter talked about the off-grid initiative, and Honorable Consul General also mentioned that. A few other things that we are doing in Punjab, and I would like to brief this House that when the grid connected RE projects were on hold, we have been working on some off-grid initiatives. And I'm very happy to report that in the past 2.5 years, we did convert 10,861 schools to solar in south of Punjab, another 4,200 schools in north and central Punjab, 2,218 basic health units were converted to solar. 2 universities were converted to solar. 70 universities have signed MOUs with Government of Punjab for conversion on solar. And let me brief you that about 15,000 schools that we did convert to solar. Out of those schools, about 1/3 of the schools never had access to electricity. So it did make a lot of difference in the lives of boys and girls studying there. We take a lot of pride in that initiative and do mention it at all appropriate fora. In future planning, all jails in Punjab are to be converted to solar, all police stations, all large hospitals. So a lot of work is being done in the off-grid solar area in Punjab. We do these projects, and we intend to continue doing these projects with public funding as well as with private investment. So shortly, we'll be inviting expressions of interest for private sector to come in and help us with these, participate in these off-grid initiatives. In addition to that, we have identified about 6,200 villages and settlements in Punjab, which either do not have access to electricity or have bad grid, which means that the potentials are so unstable that these people practically do not have access to electricity. We have already started a pilot project, and 10 out of these villages are being converted to solar. Free electricity will be provided to the households in these villages. Our future overall program is that all villages and settlements in Punjab, which are currently not connected to the national grid and are not in the planning of national grid and distribution companies for being connected to the national grid in another 3 to 5 years, we intend to provide off-grid electricity to all these villages and settlements through microgrid setups. So these were a few things that we are doing and intend to do. In addition to these things, I would like to mention 2 others as well. One is that is our initiative on captive hydropower projects development. Government of Punjab a few months ago approved captive hydropower generation policy. We have about 700 mini and micro hydropower sites in Punjab on the Punjab Canal network. Most of these sites, except for a few, are small in capacity, in megawatt terms, and also have very low head. So these sites were not suitable for connection to the national grid, and were being suboptimally utilized. So what we did was that we did bring a policy guidelines for development of these sites and a development of a small SME in the neighborhood, in the adjacent to the site for utilization of this hydropower micro facility in captive mode. This would generate employment in the underdeveloped rural areas of Punjab. This would also incentivize private sector to develop small industry, and this would get the suboptimally utilized resource to a meaningful purpose. So this is also a very successful initiative. We have received a lot of interest. 6 sites under this initiative have already been awarded. 13 sites have been advertised, and the last date for handing in expression interest by the private sector is March 10. So from taking advantage of this forum, I invite everyone to participate in this investment opportunity as well. The last thing that I would mention is that Punjab has initiated work on setting up Punjab Grid Company. The Punjab Grid Company petition to NEPRA is under preparation, and the feasibility has been awarded to see what opportunities we can grasp through the Punjab Grid Company. So in future, for all off-grid initiatives and off-grid generation facilities, Punjab would also be able to provide wire service to connect one business to the other for off-grid power sale and purchase. So these were a few things that I wanted to mention. I'm available if anyone has any question regarding the policy or the potential for RE power generation in Punjab. And thank you very much for having me over. It's a pleasure to be here and interact with all of you. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was unmuted. Thank you so much, Ma'am Sania. Very beneficial to learn so much about what the government of Punjab is doing for clean energy. Now I would like to proceed with our next session. If you could, sorry, give me 1 second. Yes. Now we would like to proceed with the signing agreement signing ceremony. Since we are doing this online on Zoom, this will be done in a slightly different way, and I hope the audience will bear with us. And I would like to reintroduce Mr. Peter Story to take this forward. And also our first signatory, which is Yellow Door Energy. If we could kindly have the 2 spotlights. One second.
Thanks, Mavra. Just to set this up, I think probably from the introductions and all that's been said so far, you'll have gathered that partnerships are the lifeblood of both PPSE and PFAN. It really does underpin everything that we do. And we constantly strive to identify like-minded organizations in the markets that we operate to cooperate with. And we work with these partners in various ways to help build and enhance the local clean energy financing ecosystem. Obviously very important. A selfish reason is always to help us originate projects so that we get exposure to more projects. So we work with other initiatives upstream from where we actually position ourselves. And we work with a lot of investors that are downstream of our activity to whom we introduce our projects once they're ready. So that's the other side of this partnership complex, if you like. And ultimately, you know, we will work with institutions, whether they be other donor-led initiatives, multilaterals, NGOs, and or government stakeholders to help address market imperfections and bottlenecks to improve the enabling environment, if you like, in which we operate to help more projects go through to financial close. In Pakistan, we've already engaged with a whole range of partners. I won't attempt to list them all, but today we're very pleased to be able to expand our horizons in Punjab through documenting new partnerships with two key institutions. I mentioned them earlier, they're co-organizers today, and thank you very much for them joining in and helping us put this event together. Those two institutions, Yellow Door Energy and Bank of Punjab. Turning to Yellow Door, it was founded in 2015 in the UAE and Jordan, and has the mission of providing sustainable energy solutions to commercial and industrial businesses. Today, the company has over 110 megawatts of solar in its portfolio in the Middle East, South Asia, and has an office in Lahore in Pakistan. For us, they're a key financial institution. We hope to be introducing lots of projects to them in the future, and we envisage that they will help connect those projects with the investment and expertise that they need to scale up and grow. Thank you to Mr. Umar Farouk for joining us today. He's the VP of Investments in Pakistan for Yellow Door, and for participating in the panel discussion later. Over to you, Mr. Farouk.
Thank you so much. Thank you so very much for this opportunity. On behalf of Yellow Door Energy, I'd like to express our honor and gratitude in undertaking this partnership with PFAN PPSE. The synergy between both our organizations is the fervent belief in the power of renewable energy to power Pakistan and the world. PFAN PPSE identifies and nurtures promising renewable energy projects by bridging the gap between investors and developers. As for Yellow Door Energy, we are the sustainable energy partner of choice for businesses across MENA and Pakistan. Our vision is to power emerging economies reliably, sustainably, and efficiently. To date, we have secured more than 30 odd megawatts of solar PPAs, mainly in Punjab throughout Pakistan. The partnership with PFAN PPSE will enable us to reach more businesses, providing them with energy that is more economical, reliable, and clean. We are humbled to contribute to our country's target of reaching 60% renewables in the energy mix by the year 2030. Together with PFAN PPSE, we can accelerate the sustainable energy transition. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Farouk, and we really look forward to working with you. We hope to keep you very busy in the coming months and years with lots of introductions coming off our pipeline, and we will do everything we can to make sure that those are investable, viable opportunities for you. Looking forward to this cooperation. Turning to the Bank of Punjab, I don't think the bank needs really any introduction from me, very well known to yourselves. And as many of you will know, among its many products and services, it's one of the conduits for the renewable energy financing scheme developed and inaugurated by the State Bank of Pakistan to overcome the energy challenges facing the country. And it's against this background that we particularly look forward to working with the BOP to help more clean energy SME companies and projects access this facility, which we will believe will help drive Pakistan's energy transition. I'd like to thank Mr. Asif Riaz, the Group Head of Retail and Priority Lending. He's representing BOP today, for joining us today, both for the signing ceremony and also to thank him for being part of our later panel discussion. Mr. Riaz, over to you.
Thank you, Peter Story, and thank you for your kind introduction and kind words. Bank of Punjab is a growing public financial institution, which also happens to be one of the pioneer banks, which is actively working towards the promotion of environment-friendly practices, including clean energy. Our partnership with PFAN, Private Financial Advisory Network, will surely give an opportunity to build synergies and think about out-of-box solutions for clean energy sector. We look at this alliance as an avenue to upscale, the local market through capacity building, product differentiation, and creating financial service ecosystem by adopting and promoting best practices. I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to the PFAN representatives and also appreciate presence of USAID, REAP, UNIDO, and Yellow Door Energy on this occasion. Let us today join hands and work to achieve this common goal. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Riaz. Mavra,
Sorry,
do we now
before-
hold up
yeah.
the
Yeah.
do we now hold up the signing certificate?
Yes. Could I kindly request Mr. Umar Farooq to open your camera up again, and the agreement you have, if you could kindly hold it up so we can also take a photo and kind of crystallize this partnership in the best way we can over Zoom. That'd be great. Santiago, can I, yeah, first let's do BOP. We'll take a photo and then we'll also have it with Mr. Umar Farooq. So I'm just taking a
we ought to explain,
screenshot.
we did do, Mavra, we ought to explain that you did very much sort of investigation about how we could orchestrate this. And there were all sorts of other plans that we had, but we felt this was probably the one that was the safest and worked best given the technology at our disposal.
Yes, yeah, and I really profusely thank Yellow Door Energy and Bank of Punjab for really helping and supporting our partnership and all the technical options we were exploring. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir Riaz. Now, could I have Mr. Umar Farooq, please? And if you could hold up the agreement or the folder. Okay, are we ready? I'm going to take a screenshot again. Umar Saab, if you could hold it up a bit higher. I can't.
Yeah,
and
but
yeah,
then it just
against
disappears in
yourself
the
because it's
background.
disappearing. Yeah, it's disappearing into the background.
So how about this? Is it better now?
Oh yeah, 1 second. Perfect. 1 second.
I wish we could sign it in person and shake hands on this.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your understanding, everybody, that it's this way.
Yeah. Could we have a quick round of applause? Just to have a quick clap. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mr. Umar, Mr. Riaz. Let's move on to the next session now. So now now we are going into our first presentation of the afternoon, which is on bridging the gap between clean energy entrepreneurs and investors. I would like to move on, and this is also going to talk about PFAN's unique selling proposition and methodology. And I would like to introduce my colleague who will be presenting, Mr. Ghazal Jabbar. Ghazal is the Deputy Chief of Party of PPSE, who has more than 20 years of experience working in investment banking, private equity, and energy efficiency. His main areas of expertise are mergers and acquisitions, business development, transaction management across e-mobility, renewable energy, financial institutions, oil and gas, energy efficiency, and he is leading the PPSE project origination. Over to you, Ghazal.
Thank you, Mavra. I really appreciate this introduction. A very warm welcome to all the participants who joined us today. Thank you for joining us. I will move on to the presentation, and I will just share it with you in a minute. I just, during this presentation, I'd like to walk you through on what PFAN is, PPSE is, and I would like to build upon the earlier comments from Peter Story, and just build on exactly what we do, what our value services are, what our eligibility criteria are, what we look for in particular projects to onboard, along with our general criteria in terms of management, in terms of overall expertise, and a bit about how we operate on ground itself. So just in summary, PFAN, as Peter has explained already, is an international network of advisors. We focus on providing financial advisory services. This is mostly sell-side advisory services to raise capital. Pakistan Private Sector Energy Project is a dedicated program specifically created for Pakistan, and this is a USAID funded program, which the implementation partner for which is PFAN. So we are implementing the PFAN program into Pakistan via the PPSE program, which is a USAID funded program. So that's the differentiation between the two. I would like to talk a bit about what the program does and what value offering do we have on ground. So as I mentioned, we provide M&A sell side capital raising sell side services. So we induct clean energy projects onto our platform. We support these projects, help the entrepreneurs make their projects bankable, help them develop the right documentation, help them on some financial modeling, helping them with structuring their projects in terms of right collateralization, the right cash flow analysis, managing valuation expectations. On one side, we feel that this is a very important aspect which is missing in Pakistan, where the smaller projects, and especially in the clean energy space, are not very well structured. There's a lack of commercial and financial skills, and many of these entrepreneurs have valuation expectations. So we want to build on those aspects and do more of a matchmake for potential projects to be able to raise capital. And that's where the other side comes into play, which is more on the financing side of things. So we feel that in Pakistan, again, there is lack of capital. There's lack of properly structured products in the clean energy space, and we want to build that. We want to work with our partner banks, our partner institutions, to build the capacity to develop the products and give our projects access into those facilities, like guarantee facilities. The USAID also has a guarantee facility. There are other green facilities by the State Bank of Pakistan. So we want to give the projects access into those facilities and prepare those projects to be able to raise money. So that is how we're bridging the missing middle. PFAN globally is a network of more than 160 advisors, and which include climate experts and financial experts. The program is hosted by UNIDO and REAP, and it's a multi-party trust fund which is funded by the government of Sweden, the government of Australia, government of US, Norwegian government, and others. The PPSE program itself is funded by the USAID in Pakistan. In Pakistan, we have 15 advisors, and this is a very good progress for us. We've grown, very shortly to have, very solid advisors in Pakistan who are based locally and have local experience. We're spread across Africa, South Asia, Pacific, Southeast Asia, Latin America. PFAN's track record is pretty impressive. It's, as you notice that, we focus primarily on developing countries, which is a very difficult market. Despite that, we worked over 1,000 projects with more than 300 in the current pipeline. In this process, we've raised around more than $2 billion, with 185 projects achieving financial close with a success rate of 17%. And we've added 1.2 gigawatts of capacity in the entire network through clean energy. The PPSE program itself is, as I mentioned, is a dedicated Pakistan program funded by the USAID. Again, the hosting partners are UNIDO and REAP, and the implementing partner is PFAN. We've got a dedicated team of 6 on ground with the right support for origination as well as application coordination. We are doing project origination via personalized approaches, via outreach events. We're also developing relationships with FIs and partnering with banks and institutions and investors, just like today. So we want to build the infrastructure around putting up projects, giving the projects access to be able to raise money and develop capacity in entrepreneurs. We had recently also launched the SME Accelerator services for early stage projects to develop, and this is more capacity building for developing commercial, technical, and financial know-how of our developers. We operate with a network of advisors, as I mentioned. So we've got 15 dedicated advisors who are local Pakistanis working in the local space. They're at least more than 15 years of experience in capital raising, in climate finance, with expertise in solar, wind, biomass, biogas. So we've got a very good mix of advisors, and we allocate these particular advisors to the type of projects and the need of the projects that we onboard. So we're trying to put more dedicated and value-added advice to our projects that we onboard with us. This is really how our pipeline works. So once we originate projects through personalized approaches and outreach events, we accept applications on a rolling basis, but we evaluate applications on a quarterly basis. So during the evaluation, the projects which we originate put up an application with us, and we evaluate that and then get them on board, contract them and get them on board and allocate an advisor to them. That particular advisor works with them on a day-to-day basis and develops these projects with them and help them make them bankable. They work with them on specific documentations, marketing materials, financial models, feasibility studies. And then once all the documentation is done, the project is moved into the investment facilitation space, where this is the portion where we connect our projects with potential lenders or equity investors. This process really is run through investment forums, road shows, or dedicated investor introductions. Once the deal is sold, it moves into transaction close. What we are also going to offer very soon is a tipping point facility, and this is this works more like a small grant which helps our projects move towards financial close. These could be facilities like small DD cost or a small feasibility study or a revision of the feasibility, so we could fund that as a grant for projects that are looking to achieve financial close. Our criteria is very simple. We look for commercially viable projects. They have to be technically viable as well, based on the technology. The management team is important for us. We need to understand growth metrics and how their thought process is. We also gauge their interest in the project through the initial application that they put up with us. We have a very strong focus on a gender impact, and we encourage all our projects to include women in their workforce or management. Of course, the projects are clean energy based, so we look for a very high climate impact, and we see a growth potential around our projects. Our sweet spot is between $1 to $50 million. We can go higher as well, but this is the sweet spot that we've identified for Pakistan. We are technology neutral, but our focus remains on clean energy. We have prioritized our markets, as I will show in the next slide. So our priority areas are focused on rural electrification and energy access. This is more focused on the rural areas of Pakistan, and there's tremendous opportunities in the provinces of Punjab and Sindh, so that's that's the area around rural electrification is core focus for us. B2B captive and distributed solar generation is more of the solar PPA business. which is becoming very common in Pakistan. E-mobility is an area of very high interest for us. We are able to explore and onboard projects right across the value chain of e-mobility. We've got projects from battery storage running across to ride-hailing technology apps, to electric vehicles, battery swapping systems, and we are currently, have around 7 projects in e-mobility and at least 2 more in pipeline. Rural bioenergy is very interesting. Again, for rural Punjab, this is more focused on around biomass and biogas, typically waste from agriculture. As priority 2, we're looking at urban waste management and renewable energy, recycling and circular economy projects. Priority 3 focuses on energy efficiency and industry 4.0. With a digital nexus, this is, of course, has to be, clean energy related, that we will be focusing on. We've kept wind IPPs as priority 4 because we feel this is really not the SME space in Pakistan, but we would be able to look at it on an opportunistic basis. That's how our pipeline is looking like. So we've got 19 projects and more in pipeline at this point. Our total investment ask is $220 million with an average deal size of around $11.6 million. The technology split that we have, as I mentioned, we've got clean energy projects and solar projects in majority. We've got off-grid and distributed generation projects, energy storage and conservation. I mean, this is more storage again related to clean transport. We've got a hydro project and 2 wind projects. A bit about how you can participate, with us. So as entrepreneurs, if you have a project, this is a good time. Our next rolling application deadline is February 27th. We encourage applications, but our evaluation will sit closer to this time. So if you're interested in a project that you would like us to advise on, we would encourage you to apply by the 27th of February, which is close, but this is something that our evaluation can consider if you are able to make it by this deadline. For a public sector participant, they can get feedback from our projects as our partner. We work with them to give regular feedback on especially newer technologies like e-mobility. We feel it will, our projects will add a lot of value because they have comments around new technologies, challenges, obstacles that they're facing around licensing, putting up technologies in Pakistan, etc. Both investors and financial institutions can play a very important role for us, and we can play a very important role for them. As a partner, they will have access to our pipeline of projects, and our projects will be engaged with them during the maturity phase of the project as well. So they will have input in helping structure the projects accordingly as per their requirements, and similarly the projects will gain because they will have access into investors and institutions when and as soon as they're ready. The application process is simple. It is a bit complicated, but yet simple. So we have a website, a landing page that you can go and apply and register. Once you're registered, you're given access to our internal software called Climate Invest, where you start and make an application, which is you document your information and upload 3 main documents, and then you just press the submit button. The main documentation that you need to upload are just an executive summary of your project, then a business proposal, which is a bit more detail about what your project is, ownership, management, competitive analysis, technology, financial overview, social and environmental impacts, etc. And then financials. Ideally, we would want a financial model, but a 5-year P&L forecast can also do. So these 3 documents, once you're ready, please visit our website and make an application with us. Again, I would like to reiterate, our next deadline is February 27. So those participants who feel can put up the application in short time, we highly encourage you to please visit our website and make this application. Thank you again. I would like to conclude my presentation here, and I hope this was useful. If there are any questions, I'm more than happy to address those via the chat function. Thank you. Over to Mavra.
Thank you so much, Ghazal, for that. And yeah, I was seeing in the chat that there were lots of questions that I think Ghazal has answered most of them. So thank you for that, Ghazal. Now I would like to move on to our next session, that is showcasing two of our projects from our pipeline from Punjab. I would like to introduce our PFAN advisor, Mr. Mohammed Sajjad Mughal, who is actually the advisor for both of these projects. He will be speaking a bit about Ouroboros and HSE Agri Limited, and then he will be moderating the panel with these entrepreneurs as well. Just a little introduction about Mr. Sajjad. He's an accomplished entrepreneur, renowned business strategist, and private sector development expert. Winner of the SDG 2020 award at the GRIPS Tokyo and several international awards. Holds 2 graduate degrees in business management and public policy from the Kennedy School at Harvard University and Federal Executive Institute, USA. Served as senior advisor at USAID and Small and Medium Enterprise Development Authority, Government of Pakistan. That's quite a profile, Mr. Sajjad. Over to you.
Thank you, Mavra, for your very generous introduction. But in the interest of time, I will quickly go through the profile of the two projects that are, in fact, assisted by me. It is HSE Agri, which are primarily into the processing of fruits and vegetables with the controlled environment, storage, and processing facilities. They, in fact, overlaps with the PFAN agenda in terms of clean energy, because they have a 1 megawatt clean energy resources to be added. And the secondly is the carbon credit and GHG credit, which is a massive thing through this project. The second one is the Ouroboros Private Waste Management Private Limited. Ouroboros is primarily into recycling PET. And this is a massive issue in Pakistan from environmental concerns. I will leave out to these two gentlemen. Ehsan is the project sponsor here from HSE Agri, whereas Ouroboros is represented by Mr. Ali Raza. So I invite Ehsan to first go through his presentation and request them to finish their pitch within 5 minutes so that we can take more questions and respond to them. Ehsan, please turn on your mic.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. I will straight away start the presentation. Can everyone see the slides? Yes.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
So HSE Agri, it is Pakistan's first controlled atmospheric storage facility for fruits and vegetables and dry fruit. It's a 3,000 ton storage facility. It's a controlled atmospheric storage. It controls temperature, humidity, ethylene, carbon dioxide, and oxygen to get the maximum storage life for fruits and vegetables. We have 20 storage rooms of 150 tons each. So basically, in our controlled atmospheric storage, we are able to get 45 days to 7 months of storage, depending on the produce. We get much more storage life than the traditional cold stores in Pakistan, because traditional cold stores only control temperature, whereas we control other parameters as well to get maximum storage life. We have 2 processing lines. One is imported from Europe for fruits, and there is a local line for vegetables. It is strategically located in Lahore because Lahore and Punjab, it is like the hub of agriculture, fruits and vegetables. So for us, sourcing the produce is very easy because of the central location. So basically the business case for this is that in Pakistan, 40% of the fruits and vegetables are wasted before reaching the consumer. The main reason is there is an absence of modern storage in Pakistan. All traditional storages are using old storage techniques, because of which they are not able to store properly. So what happens is most of the produce is wasted, and then in off season, Pakistan needs to import the produce to meet the demand. So our proposition is, what we do is that we buy the produce in season and we sell it, and we store it, and then we sell it in off season when the prices are high and the demand is also higher. With the excuse me, because of the reduction in the carbon, with the reduction in the fruit wastages, we intend to reduce 4.5 million tons of CO2 emissions directly and indirectly, and almost 1,020 tons of CO2 reduction due to the solar energy 1 megawatt plant that we plan on starting. HSE Agri employs almost 78% female staff in its farms. We have one experimental farm where we are carrying out research, and 78% of the staff is female, and we are trying our level best to do interventions and increase female participation at all levels, including at the board level and as well as the management level. So we on one stage, we have the CS storage. Our target market is three. One, we sell in the wholesale market. One, we sell directly to the retailers. And third, we export. Now, in all these three, we sell in season as well as off season. Our chairman, he has 30 years of experience in the food industry, as well as the construction industry. And our COO, he has experience in Abu Dhabi, Germany, and Romania, and he was the senior vice president of an oil and gas company. We have a brilliant team of experts, including 2 PhD doctors who are leading our research and development for the storage parameters. And we have also done research agreements with an Italian university and different foreign consultants, and even local universities, including the Agriculture University of Faisalabad. So HSE Agri is focused on knowledge management, continuous improvement, gender neutrality, and HHSC, health, hygiene, safety, and environment, which gives us an edge over our competition. So the total cost of the project that we are proposing is $11.854 million. It involves expansion from the current 3,000 tons to 6,000 tons. And it includes 1 megawatt in a solar power plant as well. It includes the expansion of the laboratory as well as the expansion of our training center. The payback period is roughly 5.63 years, and we are assuming that the financial drawdown will start in the second quarter of 2022, and the completion will be in the fourth quarter of 2023. So what we are pitching for is a mixture of debt and equity investment. So this is a preliminary financial forecast. It basically, if you see, because in 2023, last quarter, the expansion completes. So in 2024, you can see that there's a 63% increase in sales growth, a sudden increase, because our processes are already in place. Due to the expansion, we can quickly, capitalize on it. Lastly, we will like to thank PFAN for their continuous assistance in developing this viable and green expansion project proposal. Thank you so much. Is there any questions?
Thank you very much. Can you exit the screen share, Ehsan?
Yes, please, Ehsan, and we will be having questions at the end, not right now.
Sure.
Right.
We will have Ouroboros
yes,
going after,
well,
and then
we will move to Mauro will move to Ouroboros, but there is a one point
Sure.
I want to highlight that HSE Agri and both Ouroboros are assisted through PPSE program, which is, in other words, it's supported by USAID. Ali, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone, or evening or morning, depending on where you're joining in from. Firstly, just wanted to thank PFAN, USAID, and Bank of Punjab for joining and having us share our project with you. So I'll just start with my presentation. Hopefully, you guys can share my screen. You can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So just to start off with, Ouroboros Waste Management. Ouroboros is derived from Egypt and Greece. It's actually the symbol of a serpent and represents renewal of. I've asked you to start my video. Sorry. Okay. Ouroboros is derived from Greece and Egypt. It's a symbol of a snake devouring itself and represents the renewal of life. And reflects, plastic circularity and sustainability that we've been working on for some time. So the project being presented today is a plastic circularity project that has to do with used PET bottle recycling. I'm Ali Syed, and I'll be presenting my project to you today. Overall, there's about 3.9 million metric tons of plastic waste produced. In Pakistan, that's twice the size of K2. In particular, PET, one of the plastics out of 7, there's about 345,000 metric tons produced and is accumulated in the country every year. The plastic footprint of the MNCs that use PET for the beverage for their beverages is estimated about 176,000 tons a year, with an estimate of Punjab's textiles requiring 88,000 metric tons a year of used PET flakes for their yarn. 88,000 is for their high quality yarn that's required. Overall, there's compliances and there's compliances and there's approvals for high grade food grade PET in the process. There's currently already an existing demand of about 12,000 metric tons of high quality rPET for food grade. Now the gap in the market, mostly the market is being pursued by and supported by previously through informal scavenging for collection without compliance and traceability, and informal sector recyclers providing low quality flake. At the moment, there's a huge demand from MNCs and export-oriented textile in Pakistan for reliable processes, providing high quality rPET flakes to also match the international plastic neutrality pledges and sustain and supply chain traceability. So the core focus and deficit in the country and similar developing countries has been in the downstream side rather than upstream. There's lots of upstream investment and developments. So all the way from collection to processing for the loop to be closed back again. Ouroboros, so the company and project was initially conceived in 2012. It's been revised over the years with 4,000 metric tons coming online and commissioned in 2021 in Q4 and completely funded by myself through consulting, revenue, etc. We're the only Pakistani waste management company with expertise and successes across the value chain that includes waste management, collection and disposal, consulting and advisory, both locally and internationally, and contributions to current MNC-driven plastic neutrality projects in Pakistan. That includes Angro, Unilever, Pepsi, and Coca-Cola. The commercially opportunity presented today is the processing of up to 24,000 metric tons of used PET bottles, converting into yarn, and over the years focused on providing high-quality food-grade rPET for beverages and the manufacturing sector. In particular, aspects of the project include revenues from trading CO2 and GHG credits. The project over its lifetime contributes to 46,000 metric tons of CO2 emission reduction through 43,000 tons of used PET bottles recycled. Overall, at the current market rate, that's about $236,000 in GHG saved. So there's a potential for this to access further revenues through carbon credits. Overall, the project's linked directly to MNC's targets at the moment and packaging alliance goals, such as Core Alliance, to eliminate packaging waste and recyclability and their minimum target goals. Overall, the project presented only needs 0.8% of used bottles to be recovered and recycled for it to be successful. As I mentioned, our project directly aligns with the commitments of beverage brands globally, and there's cases of that already happening. An example is PepsiCo that's already achieved their initial target over 2021. A quick statement is, it's good or too late to start preparing when an opportunity arises. Because of our R&D investment and time within Pakistan and overseas, we're quite ripe for the opportunity and align with these brands' commitments and align the project with them moving forward. In terms of the value proposition we bring to both textile and the beverage sector is sustainable tagging. It's upstream, the reduction of upstream production of rPET, it's provision of recycled fiber and recycled bottles over time, and reduction in landfills. Currently, we don't have a landfill anymore in Pakistan. And so, the space and capacity required for waste and other waste, such as organic waste, are increased by reducing the amount of plastic that ends up in landfill rather than be reutilized in a circular manner, following the 5 Rs. With rPET, there's applications for many various products. Our key is to contribute to and provide rPET flakes to the premium market, such as the bottle grade rPET and export-oriented fiber companies. Our project team, our core team that's developed the project over time, myself, Ali Said, I've got 9 to 10 years experience across Southeast Asia, Europe, and Australia, working from the bottom of the ladder on the supply chain, collection, sorting, all the way to waste energy projects in Turkey. I provide consulting and advisory to both local players, NGOs, and corporations in Pakistan and across Africa and Southeast Asia, which provides lots of technical skill sets and further learning that's contributed to this project. The CEO is Bilal Musa Sayed. He's previously managed Lahore Waste Management with delivering the best operational efficiency contributed from a private sector individual. His background is in ICI, and initial career started there along with Ali Hassan Habib, the CEO of WWF, for about 20 years. He's been critical in developing and supporting the project in its early stages. His complementary work is in paper recycling, energy efficiency, and climate change mitigation adaptation. Hassan Ansari also brings about 40 years of experience across manufacturing, operational excellence has contributed to the project, and also brings experience in directly the fiber and textile industry, starting his career and spending 2 to 3 decades in ICI polyester. What's ODWM's competitive advantage? We provide consultancy and advisory to various companies. We do waste collection and disposal in Punjab, in Lahore, with a project partner, collecting about 50 tons of municipal solid waste a day from private housing societies. And our core focus is on recycling and recovery to achieve circularity. In terms of the financials of the project, it's been self-funded to date with 40 million rupees in capital raised. The project cost for the first 2 stages of 108 million rupees. What we're looking for is a short-term and long-term loan with debt financing of up to 64%, and we also proposals as we currently in metric tons per day. The industry, as mentioned, is waste management and recycling. We have both direct full-time employees and contractual employees. A key other aspect of the project is not only the numbers and the circularity aspect, it's also the impact creation. Each plant proposed and within our feasibility and project plan, each plant provides 41 direct jobs, 25 other direct jobs per metric ton processed, and involves indirectly or directly up to 21,000 women per plant, with 70% of the key workers being women. The core focus has been peri-urban waste, as peri-urban employment, with carbon emissions and energy efficiency and reduction in mind. Indirectly, the project saves 490 average homes electricity per year over the lifetime of the project as it scales. What we have in terms of The maturity of the project is guaranteed off-takers of 3,000 metric tons from fiber yarn and export-oriented fiber yarn manufacturers. We've got a guaranteed off-take from a carpet manufacturer we're supplying to currently, and there is space and current negotiations with rPET bottle producers. There's currently only one, and can be discussed another time. A conservative approach taken in terms of our financial numbers, the top line and bottom line. Currently, we've taken a conservative approach. As the market matures and there's further enforcement and development of local compliances and developments of the carbon credit market, the current ROE is about 36% and GP around 26%, with a payback period of 2.7 years. As this develops, we focused on vertical backward integration, cutting out or reducing the role or impact of middlemen on scavengers' incomes. As a result, we also increase our net profit by reducing their role. And this, the numbers are without potential circularity premiums provided from the market. In terms of just quickly wrapping up, PFAN support's been critical. It complemented the growth stage our company was in and the developments made, with the advisor providing expert advice and leading to successful trial productions last year, and has helped augment with real numbers the financial proposals and the projections. My presence today is testimony to the capability and delivery of the program and the quality of advice provided. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ali. I heard a couple of questions. I read through them. Somebody asked that who has been, in fact, advising these projects. The best part of these two projects has been that we have helped them in the development phase of this project, because the business model and the business per se has already been developed by the sponsors themselves. And both of the gentlemen who presented today are one of the best in their business model accordingly, and they are thinking out of the box in retrofitting their projects to the future of energy and also environment and associated supply chain. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mavra.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Sajjad Saab. Now we would be proceeding to the panel discussion with Ouroboros HEC Agri and Mr. Mohammed Sajjad. So can we kindly have the spotlight on all the speakers? Ali and Ehsan, is it just you representing your companies, or is there some team members with you as well today?
With me, there is Harun Saab as well, the chairman. He is with
Sure.
me. Because of the background, you can't see.
Oh, see him. Okay. Okay, great. So we just need spotlight on Sajjad Saab, Ali Said, and Ehsan and Harun Saab. Thank you, Harun Saab, for joining. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dee. Please go
Sajjad
ahead.
Saab, over to you. Sajjad Saab, you're muted. Sajjad Saab, sorry, you're muted.
Sorry.
So you can also unmute yourself. Sorry, go on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mavra. Primarily, the whole point of this is that there must be some key fundamental questions that everybody has in mind. So we thought that we put them out. It should address most of the thinking that comes to the mind of the people who are conceiving new projects related to renewable energy or the environment. So based on that, we thought that we rely on your expertise. Can you tell us the process as you were conceiving these projects, that why you come up with these unique approach to the projects, which is non-existent, and you have to struggle and do an extra effort?
Yes, Actually, in Pakistan, the wastage of fruits and vegetables is almost 40% at the farm level. And this is just because lack of proper storage facilities and infrastructure problems. The normal storage facilities which are in Pakistan at the moment, they are about more than 50, 60 years old technology. They are just reducing temperature and doing nothing else. And in this subcontinent, we are, I think, the only ones where we don't have modern storage facilities. Our neighbor India has got more than 250 to 300 CA stores in India at the moment, and annually 10 to 15 more are coming up. And the government of India is subsidizing everything for these storage facilities. The minimum size which they have designed is 5,000 tons, and they are going up to 25,000, 30,000 tons facilities also. In Pakistan, there was no such facility, and I was working for the last couple of years on this. And so we decided that though it is a difficult project, being the first in Pakistan, when you set up a greenfield project, there are certain problems which we have to face, but we did it, and Alhamdulillah, now we are on the right track. We have been working, resolving all technical issues and everything for the last 2 years, but now we are on the track and we are ready to move forward. Thank you.
Sorry, Ali, quick response.
So in short, the process was started off with an obsession in terms of understanding why, because of my background overseas, why certain aspects such as source segregation, collection, recycling didn't happen to the same scale, and why there wasn't enough data around the project. So in short, it started with an obsession with understanding the impacts. The commercial opportunity came later, but understanding the gap and why the gap wasn't addressed came first, and that's how the project was born, with the support of various advisors and a drive that stemmed from just trying to contribute back to the country from learnings overseas, etc. So in short, it was just driven by understanding why this impact already didn't exist in Pakistan.
Sounds perfect.
Yes, please go ahead.
Ehsan sahab, Harun bhai, I just want to, there are two other questions which the audience may like to, hear about. The one thing is that how crucial is the financing and how difficult it was to secure? And secondly, what is your experience so far for assistance from PFAN and PPSE project? Because that will help our audience to understand how these two things overlap for the fruition of any conceived project. But I'll request a short and a quick response, please.
As regards PFAN, PFAN is working very closely with us, and we have reached this stage with this help and assistance of PFAN, and without which it was not possible. Now, regarding how crucial is the investment requirement, it is very important now that we should move this project forward, because everybody is eyeing on this project in Pakistan. And if we succeed, then there are multiple other companies which are interested in setting up these type of storage facilities in Pakistan. And we have lots of potential. 3,000 tons is just nothing. Pakistan can absorb at least, if not more, 100 CA stores with a capacity of minimum 10,000 tons, because about 3 million tons of fruits and 3 million tons of vegetables are being produced. But because of lack of storage facility, the produce is, the quality of the produce which reaches the market is not up to the level of international standard, and that is the reason that it cannot be exported right away. If we have the proper storage facilities, processing facilities, we can, sitting in Pakistan with an agrarian economy, we can do wonders here. That is the reason, I was concentrated on this project and was working for the last 6-7 years on this project. And it was my passion to go into this field because there was nobody else. So though it is a difficult decision to go into a greenfield project, but I took that decision, and now we are hoping that everything works out nicely.
Ali.
Let's start with access to capital and financing. The project that we've developed, the fixed costs, variable, etc. In key, the raw material financing, working capital sort of financing is critical. You need lots of it due to the manner in which the sector is structured, in advance payments and collection of season. So yes, the financing is critical, but another aspect is probably as critical, and that is, the maturity of the market, and also gathering enough data, intel, and having other companies involved. An example I'll quickly give is LWMC had a successful waste collection model 10 years ago that set up lots of other businesses, and banks, financiers understand that's possible in the country. It's the same thing with the recycling aspect, whether it's HDP or LDP. Understanding of financiers about the project and different aspects that's come to life recently, with now financing also as critical. So previously access to finance was difficult. It's becoming easier, but it's a critical aspect to scaling the business and having more volumes of recycled plastic come out.
I have one more question, but before I pose that question, I see Peter Story raising hand. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, Sajad. Very briefly, I just really wanted to comment on, with respect to both of the projects, about the point of scale, and to reflect on that. And the fact that these are relatively small projects where they are now, but they both have the ability to go to scale quite dramatically in terms of the market demand that we saw in Pakistan. And that was one of the reasons for selecting them, and understanding that these were projects with a lot of viability to raise and have interest from investment going forward. Thanks for bringing me in.
Sajad Sab, you are on mute again. Sorry. For this session, since this is a panel, I would suggest that all of the panelists can keep their mic on, since you guys are going to be kind of discussing together. So please, all of you can keep your mic on.
Right. I thought that probably in the background noise may not interrupt when somebody is speaking, so I'll keep that in mind. Now I'm on to two questions. What would you advise as an entrepreneur if somebody wants to pursue similar projects in Pakistan, and how do you think PFAN can help those entrepreneurs to fulfill their dreams? That's one part. And second is, what are the primary two challenges each one of you faced? And there was a survey at the beginning of this webinar. But what is your understanding of two key primary challenges that are in a make or a break position for these kind of projects? This time, Ali, you go first, and then Harun bhai.
So my answers are going to overlap a bit. So the first was, what advice would you give? My first and only advice would be find experts, find people with more experience than you. You're not going to learn everything, search for it, find it, and that's going to help. In terms of challenges, my main challenge was, due to my age, inexperience. How do you overcome that? Through getting experience. In terms of a second challenge, was probably a product maybe market fit. My project was, waiting to be caught up to by the market. And as it's maturing now, with demand for rPET, for food grade rPET, MNC targets being accelerated locally, the Ministry of Climate Change focusing on it, data and reports coming out to support the projects for, general understanding, COP26, and various ESG compliance requirements, in portfolios and market maturity, basically. So it comes with time, but basically inexperience service by getting experience and finding mentors and expert advice. And that's what also.
Arun bhai, it's yours.
Yes. As far as our project is concerned, there are two basic challenges for everybody. Number one, the parameters for each fruit and vegetable. And then in each vegetable or fruit, there are different types of seeds. And then every different type of seed we have to tweak certain parameters to get the optimum result. And the second biggest challenge is developing supply chain, which is the main important thing is to train the farmers how to, which seed to use, how to keep the soil proper throughout the growing season, and then how to cut each fruit and vegetable. These are the very important things. As far as setting up of the parameters, we have, alhamdulillah, we have overcome that problem now. And now we are in the process of training the farmers also, so that in the next 1 or 2 years, we have identified number of farmers for certain fruits and vegetables. And we have started training them slowly and gradually, though it is a difficult thing, but the results are good at the moment.
Thank you. So if I summarize it, so both of you identify that finding an expert related to your field was a challenge and remained to be a challenge. And that in fact resulted in a slow startup. And secondly, you're taking it to the scale. And second thing, you said that then the supply chain, which Ali, you also mentioned in terms of a collection, and there was an extended discussion on that as well. Quickly, I don't want you to be overly generous. How PFAN and PPSE, in fact, helped in filling that gap as you were moving along those project development process?
Yes, Ali, go ahead, please.
And you can tell us if there is anything which can help us to even strengthen it further. We would like to hear that.
As far as,
so I'll keep it short.
Yes, please.
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
As far as we are concerned, PFAN, can assist our type of projects in training for the farmers, and then arranging finance at reasonable rates with a longer duration period, because in agri-based businesses, it is not viable to have financing of 5 to 7 years. These projects, they require long-term financing, 10 to 12 years financing with minimum grace period of at least three years, if not 4 years. So this is where PFAN can assist the companies, and especially in organizing collective training. This is what is my opinion, can the assistance we can expect from PFAN.
Thank you so much, sir. So well said, Harun Saab. And there, I think we should wrap up because we have another panel discussion. But thank you so much to all of our panelists, especially Sajad Saab, our PFAN advisor. So thank you so much. So I'm going to be moving on to the next session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We are grateful.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
So we will just quickly do a very quick poll right now to kind of understand what was just said and what the audience feels. So if you could quickly have the poll. So I won't read this out since we're a bit short on time. If people could kindly, we'll just give you like one minute to answer this poll kindly, and then we can quickly look at what the, I guess, majority opinion is. Can we have the answers now, please? I think, is that enough time? I hope everyone got a chance to respond. Yeah, I think we got enough answers. So what are the biggest challenges for clean energy SMEs in Punjab in the green energy transition? Lack of access to financing, which is what PFAN tries to bridge, is the biggest challenge, and then met with insufficient energy infrastructure, policy framework gaps, and consumer reliance on fossil fuels. So in the coming, thank you everyone for that. In the coming session, in the coming panel discussion, we will be discussing these areas, the investment and regularity scenario for clean energy SMEs and projects in Sindh. So I would actually like to just proceed with that so we can delve into this a bit deeper. And moderating this panel is my colleague, Umar Naeem. He is the Punjab coordinator for PFAN. And he has 22 years of experience in corporate and investment banking, supply chain and trade finance, transaction banking, renewable energy, aviation, and academia. He's an expert in origination, partnership, and business development, and he is a CFA charter holder and MBA from IBA Karachi. Thank you so much, Omar, and over to you.
Thank you, Mavra. Thank you for the introduction. I'd like to, can we have the spotlight on all panelists? The spotlight on. I think I can only see 3 panelists here.
That's okay. Umar, you can proceed. I think let's start with Dr. Fatma.
Right.
And then we can proceed as we see the panelists.
So thank you very much. Welcome to all of you. A very good afternoon, good morning, and assalamu alaikum. So this is a very important leg of the webinar, which is titled Development and Financing of Clean Energy Projects in Punjab, with a focus on investment and regulatory landscape. These next 45 to 50 minutes will basically revolve around a discussion on investment opportunities, regulatory framework, incentives for clean energy projects in Punjab. We will primarily focus on the financial sector's potential to facilitate scale-up of clean energy projects in multiple sectors, including rural electrification, solar, and biogas. We are very lucky to have a distinguished panel of experts with us here who will be joining us to carry the discussion forward. And we'll try to make it as useful as possible for the audience. A brief introduction of the honorable panelist we have today. Mr. Suhail Qadri, welcome. He's the Director Projects, Policy Research and Company Secretary at the Punjab Board of Investment and Trade, PBIT, which is the Provincial Investment and Trade Promotion Agency of Punjab. Mr. Qadri has a 20 years experience in the public and private sector. He has headed the Business Planning and Strategic Initiative Department at JS Investments Limited. He's also served as the Deputy Director at Securities Exchange Commission of Pakistan. And he's also served in the Education Department, Government of Punjab, as an Assistant Director of Punjab Education Sector Reform Program. He's also a member of the Mutual Fund of Association of Pakistan. Next, we have Mr. Asif Riaz, one of the finest bankers I've known. He's the Group Head for Retail and Priority Sectors Lending at the Bank of Punjab, which is, of course, one of the top financial institutions of Pakistan. He has 25 years experience in commercial, SME, agriculture, retail, consumer banking, public sector-led initiatives, branch banking, trade finance, general banking, strategic planning, execution, and implementation in various worthy financial institutions. He's an accomplished banker and management executive with a proven track record in investment building. And he has expertise working with public and private sector banks. Moving on, we have Mr. Umar Farooq, who's the Vice President Investments Pakistan at Yellow Door Energy, which is an international fund with a focus on providing sustainable energy solutions for commercial and industrial businesses. Umar is managing investments for the company in Pakistan. He has over 13 years of international experience in renewable energy and telecommunications. He's a master's in professional accounting from University of South Wales, Australia, and a Master of Science in International Financial Management from the University of London, UK. Then we have Dr. Fatma Khalid, who's a General Manager of Business Development at Engro Energy Limited, which is one of the largest private sector power companies in the country. Fatma has over 15 years experience in corporate finance, power sector advisory, privatization, infrastructure finance, advisory, consulting, academics, research, and training. She's a PhD in corporate finance asset pricing from University of Western Australia. And she's a director in the Pakistan Mercantile Exchange and a nominee director for Institute of Financial Markets of Pakistan. And finally, we have Ms. Rabia Bukhari, who's the program management specialist energy at USAID. Rabia has 15 years experience of working with development and international organizations. She's a private sector engagement lead for the energy sector and manages Pakistan's private energy sector project. She's the manager. She's also the manager for the Clean Energy Loan Guarantee Project with local commercial banks. So as you see, we have a powerhouse of expertise and experience here. So I just, so we have this, basically this session will be conducted. I have a few focus questions, which we've actually tried to preempt what audience would have them in their mind and frame them into questions. So I'll be asking I'll be engaging these panelists one by one and asking, starting with Dr. Fatma. So just a moment. So Fatma, so you have been working in the energy sector projects as a financial expert. Would you like to share your experience about structuring energy projects in Punjab?
All right, thank you so much, Umar. It's great to be part of such an distinguished panel where we have the experts, and it was really enlightening to hear what our earlier speakers had to say. When we talk about structuring the energy projects, I think I'll just take a minute to shed some light on what are the essential ingredients when you are structuring such projects. So it's very important to have an enabling investment climate. Unless you have that environment in place or that climate structure in place, it's almost impossible to structure such projects, no matter how good your project is. Then secondly, I think consistency of policies is something which is very critical when you are looking at structuring these projects. Unfortunately, when we talk about the energy landscape in Pakistan, as much as there's huge potential on our renewable side, we do face some challenge on the regulatory and the policy side when we are structuring these projects. Currently, if I talk about my current role, so since I'm heading the policy side for Anglo Energy, So we have recently done a project which is a state-of-the-art new structuring of an energy project, although that's in Sindh, but we see that replication in the other provinces as well. So I'll try to use that as an example. We have recently signed an MOU of putting up a 400 megawatt hybrid solar wind power plant in the area of Jambeer, where the land allocation will be done by the government of Sindh, and the line of that particular transmission line would be laid down by STTC, which is a regional transmission company. And then the customer sign-offs as well as the generation assets would be the responsibility of Angro. So what I'm trying to highlight here is that this is the future of the project structuring in Pakistan, because now you'll have to have these regional independent projects. We have tried and tested doing projects the conventional way, where Pakistan is in a single buyer model, where all the IPPs have this power sale to only one company. We need to step out from that. And here I would also like to identify that since CTBCM, which is the next big milestone, and NEPRA being the trailblazer of that, and Angro holding hands there, I think that would change the structuring completely when we talk about the energy projects. So this is something that we look forward to in the energy landscape. And yes, this one project is just the beginning. We would like to see similar things happening in Punjab as well. If I specifically talk about existing projects, like Sania already mentioned that they have been doing this waste to energy projects, then there are certain projects in the FEDMIC, which is your special economic zone. Then you have Sundar Industrial Zone, which is also around the same structuring that we are doing in Sindh. So I think this is what my perception about energy projects is going forward.
Okay, thank you. Now coming to another aspect of on a personal front, since we have a lot of focus on gender balance and gender equity. So participation of women in the energy sector has been on the rise in the last few years, but this representation, I believe, is pretty low. So basically due to systematic barriers. So what have been the main challenges that you have faced as a female professional in this area? And what advice would you have for women who are interested or are new in this field?
Okay, so I get this question very often, mainly because energy sector is being a very unique sector, and in the past we had very little female, like you mentioned, because of the system constraints. But lately this has changed, and it's very welcoming to see so many women in this aspect. If you talk about me personally, I think I would call myself a fortunate one, that I took every challenge as an opportunity, and it didn't really stop me in pursuing this forward. Rather, it actually gave me that positive kick which we need when we are progressing in our career. So I always took this challenge, which I would rather call it an opportunity. So I think every time I got this feeler from a meeting where the women are generally expected not to have the gray matter at par with men, especially in a field like energy. I took that as a challenge, and I think very important when we talk about such situations is what I do, or what I have done is, whenever I'm at work, I leave my gender at home. So that solves half of my problems, because when you're sitting in a meeting with a neutral mindset, you do not feel those gender specific discriminations which generally appear in a male dominating meeting settings or otherwise. Secondly, if you talk about the advice what I give to new women, one, it's very important that when we expect us to be treated at par, we should not expect us to be treated especially in any aspect, because generally as women, we do have this bias that we expect some special arrangements for us. I tend to agree and disagree, because when we expect to be treated as equal, then we should be able to have that mindset as well. We can only be treated as equal when we will expect our perks and privileges to be equal as well. One thing that I really think we need to do as a society is that rather than having quotas for women, or rather than making this a point that we have to hire women, even if we have better male candidates, I think the way I see it is it's very important that you spend extra time and extra effort in training the women. But when it comes to hiring, you should hire talent and there should be no compromise. But yes, I do believe, because women generally do not have that much of exposure in terms of in terms of environment. So maybe we need to work on that, which is a step before they go into the hiring. But once they're there, they should be treated equal, and we should absolutely hire talent. And I'm sure that even if you look at the CSS results, women are naturally at par, rather better in many aspects. So that's what I feel.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much for this great advice for all the women out there who want to join the energy sector in some way. So now we move on, and I'd like to engage Mr. Asif Riaz, who's the group head, retail priority sectors lending at the Bank of Punjab. Sir, you have been a senior banker for more than 2 decades yourself. Bank of Punjab itself has a very strong presence and expertise when it comes to the province of Punjab in perhaps all sectors. As the group head for retail and priority sectors, you're very well positioned to tell us about the opportunities and challenges for financial institution when it comes to clean energy landscape in Punjab, whether it be solar, wind, biogas, biomass, or any other type of energy. So could you kindly elaborate on your experience in financing in the clean energy space in Punjab and in Pakistan?
Thank you, Omar, for inviting me to this August forum. And it's my pleasure to be part of this August forum, very learned speakers. So, Omar, I would like to answer your question that although in recent years, considerable progress has been made in developing cleaner, more efficient technologies, but this growth has driven several factors, including supporting policies, increasing cost competitiveness of energy from renewable sources. Yet a lot has to be done in this space. There is a lot of opportunity for businesses and individuals. For example, that although initial investment is a challenge, however, by investing into cleaner energy, it can substantially bring down businesses' operating cost. The second opportunity can be increasing our capacity to bring electricity to remote locations. This will help improve living standards and provide opportunities to new communities, increase security over energy generation, and be less dependent on geopolitical issues. Similarly, we are facing pollution and climate change. So by having renewable energy technologies, I think that can actually help reduce pollution, that can help address climate change to some extent. But when we look at these opportunities, there are even challenges of greater magnitude, and those need to be addressed through policy interventions and through product differentiation and through capacity building and private and public sector partnership. So the initial and foremost factor, which has been even tabled in the previous talk on this forum today, is the capital cost. So initial outlay is big, costs associated with building and installing facilities like solar or wind farms. So that kind of challenge needs to be tackled with. It needs a greater amount of courage and the access to capital. Sitting cost is huge, which actually means having permissions, contracts, which are not that easy to obtain. Then there is a reliability misconception. Renewable energy opponents love to highlight the variability of the sun and wind as a way of bolstering support for coal and gas. So this can be more easily operate on demand or provide base load continuous power. So this kind of misconception needs to be tackled with. Then of course there is an issue of the standardization of equipment. We have a variety of equipment available in the market, but there is a lack of pricing and equipment standardization. So that creates confusion among the buyers. Of course, politics that also plays its role. Legacy backs the power industry, whilst these advantages have probably elevated traditional production. They have also diverted resources that may have helped the expansion of renewable energy. But despite these challenges, BOP sees a lot of potential in this space. We have financed about projects worth more than 500 megawatts, which include solar, wind, gas power projects, and that cost around $700 million and about 12 billion rupees. And projects of about 300 megawatt are in the pipeline. We have seen this trajectory, we have seen the financing, we have seen the repayment, we have seen the cash flows. And I think now the trajectory is all set. We would really like to lead this initiative in a promising.
Excellent, excellent. Now, one more question, sir. I think there's a question that would be there in the minds of most entrepreneurs that clean energy projects in a lot of instances are not very attractive to banks. This is what, you know, is the general perspective. So what can be done to make clean energy projects in Punjab more attractive to banks and investors? If you could kindly answer that.
It's a very good question. I think this is very important that we need to engage through public-private partnership, and we being part of the government of Punjab, as you know, they have like 56-57% shareholding in the bank. So BOP is very closely working with the government of Punjab to collaborate with the Environment and Endowment Fund to finance green initiative, including clean energy. We are working with the government of Punjab to raise green bond for financing of government of Punjab's green initiatives. And however, at the outset, I think we need to invite multinational companies to set up systems by doing alliances with the Pakistan government. Of course, local banks need to be engaged. They need to come forward and play the role by making syndicate financing available to local innovators. I think another important thing can be to start public competitions vis-a-vis having good research papers for ideas generation that can also create an impact. Role modeling is very important. So we need to learn from success stories from neighboring countries, and that can happen by encouraging external consultants, by looking at the success stories and examples of our neighboring countries. And we need to also take a holistic review of our entire ecosystem in terms of the policy, in terms of the product interventions, let it be corporate, commercial, SME, or agriculture segments, or even the household. So we need to deep dive and look at the proposition in more detail. Of course, there is a huge gap in terms of creating the product awareness and actually celebrating our successes. So I think with government and the private sector, they all need to come forward and engage into such such roadshows and awareness sessions where they can actually share the success stories. So this would help build the confidence of the investors. They would help build the confidence of the consumers, let it be commercial, corporate, or even the household. So I think that is very important. Of course, there is a requirement for the standardization, although Alternate Energy Board is there. But despite that, I think that their role needs to be more structured. Their role needs to be more organized so that they have a better handle on the prices and the quality of the equipment that is just flooded in this market space. Of course, government can incentivize mandatory conversions of the industrial units if they convert themselves from coal or from fossil to alternate renewable energy, clean energy. I think they should be given some incentives that can be a very effective tool to attract more investment. And I also think that the Central Bank of Pakistan, State Bank of Pakistan, can also have an overarching role in terms of advising financial institutions to impart focus on this very important initiative. They can monitor their performance and they can have auditable KPIs and deliverables for the financial institutions. I think that can also be very effective. And I think there is other important aspect, and that is actually the complexities of the transactions, of the complexities of the processes. I think those processes and procedures need to be looked at in detail and need to be made as easy as possible.
Thank you. Very useful, sir. Very useful. Thank you. I'd like to move on to Mr. Umar Farooq, you're from Yellow Energy. So Umar, you represent a leading fund focusing on clean energy projects in Punjab and Pakistan. So just let me know, in your experience, how would you describe the challenges, opportunities, which you see as a foreign fund manager in the clean energy domain? And how can clean energy SMEs access your funds?
Thanks, Umar. Thank you so much. Since Yellow Energy is probably is not a household name as of yet in Pakistan, so I would probably take this opportunity to introduce Yellow Energy to the participants and also whoever is attending. So the story began back in 2015 when YD started its operations both in UAE and Jordan simultaneously. Since then, we have grown exponentially. As of today, we have offices apart from UAE and Jordan, we have offices in KSA, Bahrain, Oman, and of course, Pakistan. And currently, we have assets in these 6 countries of around 200 million USDs, and all of these are distributed energy projects. We have done wheeling, we have done rooftop installations, we have mainly accommodated the CNI space, which is basically commercial and industrial in all of these countries. And as of now, our shareholder structure is something like we have 4 shareholders. The first one is IFC, which is basically the investment arm of World Bank. Then we have Mitsui, which is the largest Japanese conglomerate in the world. Apart from that, Epicorp, which is Arab Petroleum Investment Corporation, which is basically the investment arm of OPEC. And lastly, Equinor. That's basically a European fund, mainly focusing on RE. They used to invest in OMCs and was known as, they used to be known as Statoil. Anyways, coming down back to your question, in terms of challenges, I think I will just echo what Fatma was mentioning earlier in terms of policy and consistency. Obviously, it's definitely something which creates a lot of hurdle, in all honesty. And apart from that, I would go to an extent saying this, that even on the financial institution side, if it's B2G, then there is a lot of traction from the financial institution side. But if it's B2B, since it's not as a run-of-the-mill kind of a transaction, so there are certain hurdles which we do see and face. But I do feel and believe that we, as Yellow Energy, partnering up with PFAN, PPSE, I think that bridge can be, that gap can be bridged, and definitely. So apart from that, in terms of, if I just need to give one example on the policy side, we as a company, we import fuel. Let's just be honest about that. Yeah. The bucket price is going up. It's 2021. Our dependency on HST increased by 9%. What will happen in turn? You know, the fuel price will go up, the electricity cost will go up, and these challenges obviously create opportunities for companies like us and others in this affair. And it's an untapped market. Let's just be realistic. There's a huge solar potential. People have talked about the rotation in this region for years now, right? And then I have seen the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN putting a huge imposition on the textile sector, particularly who are exporters. And a lot of their buyers have put their ESGs, which is environmental sustainability and governance, close to the Sustainable Development Goals of UN. I think for us and others in the market, this is the right time. Well, I have been saying this is the right time for the last 5 years now, but yet I do feel that every year it's a new opportunity, again, which poses some sort of a challenge as well. I think even if someone wants to adapt towards clean energy, maybe in Punjab, Sindh, or wherever, I feel that a lot of sustainable development goals from the UN can actually, can also be nullified just because of that. So yeah, that's it from my side on this. And in terms of what you were mentioning in terms of how can the SMEs access our funds? So I think the name of the game is that, it has to come in early for some sort of an interaction for evaluations. And I do feel that with the partnership with PFAN and PPSE, we can access more of these projects, and more of these projects will come up. And if that's the case, then of course, I think sky's the limit. Yeah. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Umar. Now, moving on to Mr. Sohail Qadri. Sir, who's here from the Punjab Board of Investment and Trade. What is the investment regulatory framework of the Punjab government for clean energy companies currently? And what types of incentives and facilitation does the government and in specific PBIT offer in case of foreign investments?
Yeah, thank you very much, Umar Saab, for inviting me. This is a great opportunity, a great learning curve, particularly for myself as well. And this is really encouraging to see that how PFAN is actually contributing towards a real value chain and intervening at the right juncture where the intervention is required right now. I hope this shall help the overall sector as well as the SMEs to mature to a certain stage where they can actually start looking at higher forms of investments, more complicated deals, more complicated structures to finance this very critical area. With regards to your question about how PBIT is contributing, it is important if I take just 30 seconds to explain the role what PBIT do. PBIT, as a regular investment promotion agency, does intervene at all life cycle stages for any sort of investment that is coming into Punjab, either that is in the shape of large-scale manufacturing units, or that is in the services sector through special technology zones, either that is in any form, even including the public-private partnership. We are the landing zone alpha for anybody who's trying to look for the unsolicited proposals for PPP. So PBIT actually acts as the linchpin. We are right at the center stage. We can act as the matchmaker for the potential projects who are looking for the partners. We can be a conduit for PPSC. We can be a conduit for PFAN. We can start building up a pipeline. So we are very flexible. And that is where we add our real value by connecting the investor with the right forum where they can seek investment from. In terms of the incentives, I think Madam Sania from PPDB has actually explained it is quite a conducive environment here, because Punjab has been very adaptive and open to adopt new ideas in terms of off-grid solutions, because that has been sort of a challenge as well as a blessing that Punjab had certain areas which are completely off-grid there, where the national grid is unable to serve. So that has created an excellent opportunity for the local community to start adopting these flexible technologies, PV, solar panels, and the other alternate energy solutions. Maybe the smaller projects in the future and in the very near future with the run of the canal production of energy shall also change this landscape further. So Punjab is already, the custom duties are exempted for import of capital items. There is a tax rebate within our manufacturing sector as well as the services sector for special technology zones, special economic zones. There is an exemption on sales tax. The local grid sales for energy sector specifically are free of any sales tax. So the landscape is there, the incentives are there. It is only that we are now trying to create a conducive environment where every factor of this puzzle, this jigsaw puzzle, connects with each other and start producing the results. So as PBIT, as the government of Punjab, we are available to the investors, we are available to the other agencies. We can be your back office, we can be your marketing team, we can be your promoter, we can be your facilitator. We are the hand holders. So it's quite a flexible role that we are willing to play and we can play. At the same time, one last point that I would like to highlight, the most critical function that PBIT operates in and where PFAN can also chip in, we are the policy advocacy managers for the government as well. We look at the industry, we look at the stakeholders, we try to interact with them, try to get their feedback and make it reach the right policy corridors from where the initiatives must come in the public sector. So PBIT's role stands critical. And I hope that answers your question. For more details, probably PPDB would be the right forum to ask for the technical details. Yeah,
great.
That's
Thank
over.
you. Thank you, Faisal. So I'd like to direct my next question to Ms. Rabia, who's here from Ms. Rabia Bukhari, who's here from USAID. So Rabia, USAID has been very active in Pakistan in different sectors. It has been one of the leading donors in the country. So what role is USAID playing in promoting potential of clean energy in Pakistan and unlocking the financing opportunities for such projects in Punjab in specific?
First of all, thank you very much for having me on the panel and talking about the USAID assistance. As you pointed out, we have been one of the leading donors in the country, not only for the energy sector, but we also have invested in other sectors. So in case of energy, specifically, when we talk about unlocking the investment and promoting clean energy, we started supporting the government of Pakistan back in 2009 and 10 when the energy crisis of blackouts started in the country. So we provided major grants to the government to carry out the projects. And since then until now, we have carried out a lot of infrastructure and other clean energy projects, directly supporting the government and also hiring consultants and contractors supporting the government. And from the very recent past, we have also started to engage now with private sector, given that if we look at the financing required, the development challenges we have in hand, the energy sector, obviously one donor or a couple of other donors, bilaterals together with government of Pakistan financing, it's not enough. Plus private sector actually brings the right resources and the technical expertise. They have the know-how of the market. They bring international experience as well. So we are also now engaging directly with them. One example is this PPSE project, which PFAN is implementing. Other than that, in clean energy space, we actually provided government the transaction advisory and legal advisory services. After the CCOE ban was lifted in 2019, all the wind projects which achieved actually financial closure in late 2019, those were supported by USAID through our advisory services to AEDB to help them move their different modalities of the agreements that needed to be amended and signed. So those actually, that projects has almost led about $800 million of investment from the wind sector, roughly 600 megawatts of projects. Other than that, when we also have a credit guarantee, which you already briefly talked about, that is with local commercial banks. Under that, we are sharing a risk of the banks for up to 50%, where we also have lent to clean energy projects, mostly solar projects, and one bagasse project. And half of those investment under the credit guarantee, like 23 million, we have lent to about 60 megawatts of projects, mostly are in Punjab, and some of the others are in Sindh. So since the wind deals are mostly right now in Jhimpir corridor in Sindh, the solar projects which we have supported are from Punjab. There we have supported around 4 utility scale projects. That is roughly $150 million investment for 250 megawatts of project. So I think this is where we are in terms of our clean energy support. And we also helped AEDB in actually drafting and getting their competitive bidding procurement framework, which also very recently gotten approved. And that would help actually unlock more investment in the country, because their category 3 and 4 projects all has to go through competitive process of the procurement in future as per the ARE policy 2019. So that is also something which we have helped with.
Thank you, thank you. And just one more question to you, Rabia. I think you just have to answer it very quickly. We just have 2-3 minutes left. So what clean energy projects or sectors is USAID most keen to support? Are there any specific sectors?
I think we are not having any preference of one or on the another. Just we are open to all sort of clean energy technologies. It can include, other than wind and solar, which we already have supported, we are open to through PPSE. We are supporting even biomass, biogas, gas, waste to energy, all sort of these projects. Even off-grid distributed generation is on our list. So even we are just in the planning stage of designing another new activity that would be completely focused on climate side, climate and energy nexus. That there also we are in talks to see if we can support even any new clean energy technologies which are not tested and tried in Pakistan. We can help do a pilot maybe, and then see how that goes, and others can replicate on it. I think we are open to all sort of technologies. It depends on the nature of the resources which we will get in the future to actually support such projects.
Okay, okay. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. That brings us to the end of this panel discussion. I'd like to thank Dr. Fatma Khushnood. I'm sorry I got your name wrong earlier. Rabia Bukhari, Umar Farooq, Asif Riaz Saab, and Suhail Saab. Thank you very much for joining us. Back to you, Mavra. Over to you.
No, thank you, Umar. Thank you to all of our esteemed panelists. Do we have a question from Sir Suhail? Aapka hand upar tha. Yeah, galti se ho gaya, I guess. Okay. I just want to take a minute to ask if there are any audience questions. We did address all of them in the chat box. I don't see any audience questions. So I'm happy that we were able to answer all of your questions. But if there is 1 or 2 questions, maybe we can quickly take them. But I don't see any. So I think I'll just proceed forward. So we have the last poll of the afternoon that we will be just shooting right now. If we can have that, and then we can, yes. So which services do clean energy SMEs most need? Access to investors, financial institutions, and capital. Number 2 is business model and plan development. Number 3 is technical advice and expertise. Number 4 is strengthening clean energy value chain and training. Last one is training of entrepreneurs. And I think experts is, there's a missing word there, sorry about that. But if you can quickly take a minute to quickly answer this so we can proceed forward. But yes, I think everyone would agree that in this panel discussion, we were able to go over all of these different clean energy needs in the market, and everyone from various sectors were able to give their insights. So I'm curious to know what the audience thinks. Okay, I think we can have the answer now. I think maybe that's enough time, or a few more seconds. Great, thank you. So access to investors, financial institutions, and capital seems to be the resounding answer at 56%. Then we have business development and plan, and then technical advice and expertise. And luckily, as I stated earlier, PFAN does cover all of these SME needs. And as we were saying, the deadline for application is 27th February, and there will be another deadline again as well. And we do take applications on rolling basis, so we would highly recommend people to apply. So thank you for that. Thank you to the audience for those insights. Now I would just like to wrap up today's session. So in closing remarks, I would just want to also say this poll is specially created and is important for us because project is dedicated to providing industry leading and industry specific advisory services that are well attuned to the needs of not only project developers in clean energy and climate resilience, but also cognizant of the intricacies of the ecosystem in which the clean energy transition is embedded in Pakistan. because the only way to build sustainable energy solutions is to work together. This is why we're so pleased that representatives from private, public, development, financial sectors, and our advisor network carved out time today to share their expertise with us. So big thank you to all of you. A profuse thank you to our audience who, through their numbers and questions and insights, have shaped the various discussions on this forum today and are driving demand for more discourse on clean energy needs in the country. We hope to have more events with you in the future. We're also very, very grateful to USAID for their continued and unflinching support to the PFAN PPSE project. Thank you, Mr. Makaneole and Ms. Bukhari, for your time and expertise today, and we look forward to many more events with you. Before we jet off, I also wanted to thank some team members who were behind the scenes for this event and you didn't actually see them. Three of my colleagues, Santiago Nicholi, who is the program associate, Hamad Bashir, who's a project expert, and Omar Qureshi, who is the investment expert. Kindly, if you could switch on your camera and just wave to everyone so they know who you are. And thank you for bringing life and making this webinar possible. Lastly, I would just like to comment that we will be having a quick survey at the end that will pop up. So don't shut down, before answering that survey. It will just take a few minutes of your time. So that will pop up. And before we leave, like always, we would love to have a group photo with all of our speakers. And I would request if everyone could kindly turn on their camera so we can take a group photo. Yes. I think something is happening. Okay, everyone ready to say clean energy? Okay, I'm going to take one more. Okay, I think I've taken a few. I hope that should be okay. I'll take one more just to be safe. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for making time out and hope to see you next time. Do follow us on our social media and keep updated on our website, pfan.net. Looking forward to having you in future events as well. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.